Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. It is time. The way too early DraftKings first look. It is not even August. It's close to August. July the 31st. DraftKings over the weekends just released their week one salaries. I didn't have to tweet at them and call them cowards this year. They just did it on their own. It's nice that over the last decade, we've trained them to do so. So now we have the week one salaries. We're going to take a look at every position. We're going to take a look at the games that are on the main slate for week one, see which games we should be attacking, and I'm going to build a double stack, bring back secondary stack lineup like we normally do on this video for you guys to kind of take a peek at week one. I'm also going to take a look over at Underdog Fantasy. We're going to build a ticket, a pickem ticket. 3 players. Let's find something for the season long, build a card, and then we'll check back in like 6 months and see if we won money. It's like fantasy football Keno. So without any further ado, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, subscribe to the fantasy football channel, click all the things, go to smizzle.tv/links, click all the things, and let's go.
He's a legend.
As I said, we're going to take a look over here on Underdog Fantasy, your home for best ball every season. And this season specifically, $15 million in their main Best Ball Mania tournament, $3 million up top, 7 figures if you win the regular season, another 7 figures if you win the playoff bracket, as well as a lot of other best ball options. But they have this pick'em thing that I really like a lot. If you wanted to get an account, if you don't have an account on Underdog Fantasy, you should. And you can get up to a $100 deposit bonus on your first deposit to the site if you use that promo code ALSMIZZLE. It should be across there because producer Rosie's awesome. ALSMIZZLE on your first deposit gets you a $100 deposit match on your first deposit to the site that you can use on these pick'ems, best ball tournaments, anything that you want. So let's pick 3. I'm a donkey, so I like to pick overs. These are for the entire season, so this is going to take, forever to pay off. Let's get saucy. Let's go higher on Russ Wilson, over 24.5 passing touchdowns. Let's go. Where'd the other ones go? Oh, yeah. Higher. Justin Herbert, higher. Yes. And Lamar Jackson, higher. I like these 3 guys. We're going to go higher. Let's do this for $50 to win 300. Submit. Boom. It's just that easy. Go check out Underdog Fantasy and all the great products that they have over there today. Now, taking a look at the DraftKings Sportsbook, here's all the lines for the first weekend of games. Week 1, main slate. So that's what we're going to kind of focus on, is just the main slate. Obviously, it's a Thursday night game. It's going to be a lot of fun. Detroit against Kansas City, over under 54. If this was on the main slate, it would probably be the way. Not a shortcut, but the way. We have Houston against Baltimore. Baltimore minus 9.5, 44. If Houston can actually score, I think that Houston may run their team the way Atlanta ran their team last year. Like, there's a non-0% chance that they're just going to run the absolute bejesus out of the football this season with their entire stable of running backs and just not throw it a ton. Young quarterback, makes a lot of sense. Defensive head coach. I don't know how exciting they're going to be. Hopefully they suck on defense again, which forces them to throw a lot, and they don't just run and slow the game down. I'm not optimistic about Houston. Jacksonville, I am optimistic about. Indianapolis, whole lot of crazy stuff going on there right now with their owner and the running back situation. Jacksonville, 43.5 total on that one. Tampa Bay against Minnesota, 45.5. San Francisco, Pittsburgh Steelers. This is an ugly game. No offense to 49ers or Steelers fans. It's not about you. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. But this game is not a great fantasy football. Like, you might want one piece from this as like a one-off, maybe a secondary stack if you want to get saucy, but like, this is not where we're looking for scoring. This is where we're looking for some scoring. Bengals against the Browns, 47.5. Cardinals against Commanders, whatever. Titans against the Saints. Panthers against the Falcons at 42.5. Eagles against the Pats, 46. Eagles only favored by 4.5 here in New England. Interesting. Raiders and Broncos, 44.5. Dolphins and Chargers, the highest total on the main slate at 50. Green Bay against Chicago, 44.5 in this one. Bears favored by 3 at home. And the Rams against the Seahawks, 47.5. This one is sneaky good. This one is a sneaky good stack. I just didn't go that direction. I'm choosing not to. So let's take a look at what we got here. Let's take a look at the flex, first of all. The prices on the players this year. Typically, DraftKings week 1 is really soft. It's just the way that they do things. Week 1 is typically a promotional week to try and bring as many new people to the game and to the site as possible. And they want to make the lineup building process as fun and enjoyable as one could possibly make it, but like also still make it fair. And so they skew towards dropping prices by 5 or 10% across the board, which makes it very easy to build lineups. I do not feel that is the case this year. Like, not even a little bit. This doesn't feel great to build lineups. And it's not because of the top, right? Nobody over 9K. Justin Jefferson, 8,800. McCaffrey, 8,700. Austin Eckler, 84. Kupp, 84. All these guys are fine. It's when we get down into this, like even in this range, right? Like Keenan Allen, 7,300. Feels like a lot for week one. Everybody else, Waddle, 71. Smith, 72. These are not even guys who lead their team in targets. Way up in that range. This is the range that gets tough. You can usually find a lot of plays between 4,000 and 5,000 on DraftKings. There's some very good plays between 5,000 and 6,000 on DraftKings. And it feels like a lot of the guys that are typically in that range in week one are not there this year. It feels like they've been priced up to the 6 to 7 range. Mixon, 68. Higgins, 68. Kamara, 67. Lockett, 67. Judy, 66. Ridley, 65. Madison, 65. I'm actually fine with that. It's really the receiver prices. The running backs are priced up across the board. James Conner, like that team might win 3 games this year. 6,400 for him. Aaron Jones, 6,300 in a timeshare on the road and a dog. Andrews, 6,200. Like the prices across the board feel like they're really, really high. So it's not untrue at quarterback either, where the running quarterbacks, Lamar, Hurts, Fields, rightfully priced up. These are the guys who can easily break a slate by themselves and open things up across the board. And then you've got Burrow at 71, Herbert at 69, nice. In the highest total game of the week. Tua right behind him at 67. The cheaper guys, if Richardson is named the starter, he's going to be a very, very popular one-off. Considering his rushing ability, Jacksonville should be playing from ahead. He'll be forced to throw a little bit more. RPO quarterbacks tend to lock in on one guy just because it's an easy to read system, right? You're going to hand it off, you're going to run it, or you're going to throw it to this one guy running a slant. Like that's just how those sorts of plays work. So you can lock in that one guy, and that one guy is probably going to be Pittman that goes along with him. Brock Purdy, assuming health. Carr is cheap at 5,300 against Tennessee's defense, which was porous last year, and their offense should be better. If their defense continues to be ridiculously bad, and their offense is improved with Derrick Henry, and obviously they've become like the wide receiver graveyard, right? These great wide receivers, once they get on the wrong side of 30, always seem to end up on the Titans for like a year, whether it's DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones, Randy Moss, Andre Johnson, all of them just end up there for like the retirement home. It's like the Titans are to the NFL old wide receivers what the MLS is to old international soccer players. Shout out to Messi in Miami. Jimmy G against Denver. I don't usually target quarterbacks and wide receiver stacks against Denver because of how good they are. All of those sorts of things. So I want to pay up. And if I'm going to pay up, it's going to be for Justin Herbert. I'm going after a guy who disappointed last year, but I like the change in offensive coordinator this year. I also like what he does for tight ends. More coming over from Dallas to the Chargers. I think that Herbert has the year that everybody has been waiting for, or the year that everybody was expecting from Justin Herbert last year, I think materializes in 2023. So if I go with Justin Herbert, that means I got to find 2 guys. Let's see if we can't stack this game and how we can stack this game, right? I'm going to double stack and I'm going to bring it back. We've gone over the reasons why. Go check out the How to Win on DraftKings playlist for all of the reasons and the math and the behind why I do this in tournaments. Yes, I am putting all my eggs in one basket by going after this one outcome. However, in times where the quarterbacks on DraftKings score 30 plus DraftKings points, they can sustain 2 wide receivers. In those situations, you want to maximize how many points you get out of that combination. It is the easiest path to those combinations, and using a player on the other side of that does correlate well with a quarterback who gets 30 points on the other side. You can knock out 4 spots in your lineup in one game. You're playing for the top outcomes. Draft as though you're right. So if this game does shoot out and scores 55, 60 real life points, a 31-28 game, let's say, all of a sudden We are going to get a lot of touchdowns falling out of this game. We're going to get a lot of fantasy goodness. And no, it won't always work out your way, but you put yourself in the best position to win the day. So Keenan Allen, as I said, very pricey at 7,300, but Mike Williams is only 5,700. We know that he's got big game potential. He flashed it last year multiple times with over 20 points, like 5-6 times in the year. Yes, he needs to be healthy. Yes, they introduced a rookie wide receiver who I think is good, but not going to supplant Mike Williams. A big year could be in store for everybody who is a pass catcher from Justin Herbert. And if you wanted to go a different route, you may. We're going to plug him into the flex because this is one of the later games on the day. I need another pass catcher. I mentioned how good Moore has been for tight ends. Dalton Schultz was supposed to be a blocking tight end. All of a sudden, he was one of the most effective tight ends the last couple of seasons. And this is coming off of an injury to the guy in front of him who expected 2 years ago, who was supposed to be the guy. And then Schultz was just, well, he's not going to do what, the injured player was going to do. And all of a sudden, Schultz got himself a major contract in the offseason because of how well he played in that Moore system the last 2 years. And now Gerald Everett, a good pass catching tight end in his own right, who has that big game potential that we saw, finishing the season off with touchdowns in 3 straight games, 26 points against Jacksonville in the playoffs in another shootout situation. Solid target floor for the entire season for him, and a huge red zone target as well. He is priced up a little bit at 4,300. They made this game tough to go get, but I like the upside there. And then we need to find somebody on the other side who has tournament winning ability, who could maybe do some things against a defense that struggles from time to time against pass catchers and, against guys that have big playability. And I'm just going to click Tyreek Hill. So now we're going to have to find ways to find value, right? If I'm going with this as my primary double and bring back, which I'm 100% going to do for this way too early first look, as we get closer to week 1, we're going to do our regular first look when it comes to that Monday, of week 1 before kickoff. That'll be recorded live on Twitch, smizzle.tv/live. If you're not following me over on Twitch, go do that. That's where all of my live streams happen. Then we cut them out and we put them over here on YouTube for you guys. So come say hi on the stream. It's much easier for me. Let's plug in the text. Let's plug in something small. I think they're going to run the ball. I think that Baltimore's going to throw the ball a lot more this year. We need to find running backs, and running back is priced up. As I said, McCaffrey, 8,700. We got 5,700 remaining. I could theoretically punt off 2 spots at wide receiver and find my path to a expensive running back. Eckler, Chubb against Cincinnati, right? If I wanted to stack through Eckler, you could take out Williams and go to Eckler, take out Hill and go to him, and then come down to like Waddle if that's the route you wanted to go. Bijan Robinson, priced up at 8,000. He's been going between pick, let's say 7 and 12. More often than not, going to get a ton of volume. You're going to get a lot of training camp video and picture of him on the Twitter machine. Yes, it's the Twitter machine and not the X machine. That's copyrighted by Des Bryant, so I'm going to leave that to him. Please don't sue me, Des. Priced up at 8,000. It ain't cheap. It ain't cheap at all, but it is against Carolina. Not good. Taylor, who knows if he's going to play? The team says that he's got a back injury. Needs a backiotomy, and Jonathan Taylor tweeted out, I do not have a back injury. I never had a back injury. I do not have one now. I did not get it outside the facilities. There's a whole lot of stuff going on right now with the Indy Colts, and Jonathan Taylor just demanded a trade. He was a do not draft guy for me before that. Do not draft video is going to be on the fantasy football channel, Al Smizzle Fantasy Football. Go check it out. Definitely a not draft player for me now, and definitely not a $7,900 player for week 1, at least not a month out. Derrick Henry, New Orleans. I don't like playing running backs against New Orleans, but it is Derrick Henry. I'm fine with that. Josh Jacobs, who knows if or when he's even going to come back and play. He did not sign, and he left Las Vegas. Cue Sheryl Crow, because he's gone. Ramondre, 7,000. If they don't sign another running back, and right now there's a lot out there. Leonard Fournette, Ezekiel Elliott was just in town in New England. Dalvin Cook is rumored one of the 5 teams he may sign with. A lot of guys that it looks like they want to get one more guy to go along with Ramondre here, as they've had the last few years with Damian Harris. They want to replace somebody in that role to leave Ramondre the role that they prefer him in, which is this 10 to 14 carry, 5-6 target guy every single game, which is perfect for DraftKings scoring. But monitor that situation to see if he's going to get more of the goal line touches. Travis Etienne Jr., please throw him the ball. They just didn't last year. They refused. 6,900 for him. Joe Mixon, right now the only guy in town at 6,800, going up against Cleveland's defense, which was terrible against the run last year. His name is Alexander Madison, and he is only 6,500 now that Dalvin Cook has left town. Expect 20 touches per game out of him. Looking at the games where Dalvin Cook was gone last year, if you isolate to those, you can do that over on RotoViz if you want and see the fantasy output that he's had the last 2.5 seasons in those games. Connor's going to get a lot of run at 6,400. We're now getting into the price range where we can maybe start to afford these guys. Not sure that there's as much touchdown upside on an every week basis from James Conner, just because this offense is going to be exceptionally bad. Losing Nick Hopkins, having they basically have the lollipop guild at wide receiver with Dortch and Brown, and like they're all 5'6" and under. So like this, I don't know what they're going to do. They're just going to plow James Conner into the line 20 times a game, and they're probably going to throw it to him 3-4 times also. Aaron Jones splitting time at 6,300, but against Chicago couldn't stop anybody. Cam Akers, maybe he's explosive again. He looked good at the end of last season, 5 yards a carry in the last 4. They're going to give him the ball a ton. Is this team good enough? And they're going to have to play from it because he just does not get a lot of targets at all. Ken Walker, everybody in Seattle right now is injured. If Charbonnet is not playing, and right now they said he's out indefinitely. I hate the word indefinitely. He's out indefinitely. If he's out, then Ken Walker Jr., who are already Ken Walker the third. Sorry, apologies to your family tree. We've seen the big play upside from him. He's clearly one of those Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor archetypes at running back, Derrick Henry archetypes at running back. I don't mean that he is the same talent as them. I mean in a fantasy sense where his fantasy goodness kind of relies on him breaking a long touchdown via the run or the pass. He definitely has the ability to catch the ball. They just don't target him all that much. They did in like 3 games last year, but most of them sub 3 targets. But it's again 20-yard, 60-yard run, 20-yard run here. He needs touchdowns, scored 10 of them last year, and a lot of those are going to come from distance when he has those game-breaking weeks for you. I mentioned how much I think that Houston's going to run the football. 5,800 for Dameon Pierce is solid. I don't think he's going to get very much work in the passing game, especially with them signing Devin Singletary this year. And now we're getting down into the range. Maybe we can afford a guy. I can't afford Rachaad White with the build that I want to make, but I think he's going to be extremely popular in week 1. I really, really do. He may be a core play. If I wanted to go a little bit cheaper somewhere else, which I don't, because I have a secondary stack that I'm very excited to build, I think Rachaad White is a fine play in week 1. With them not having anybody else in town, he should be that prototype DraftKings running back, and we may not see him as cheap as 5,500 any other week this season, because I fully expect 4 to 7 targets a game every game and between 13 and 16 carries. That many opportunities with that high percentage coming in the air in the passing game with a quarterback who checks down, right? Like we know that Baker is a timing quarterback. He does have good wide receivers to throw to in Evans. He does have good wide receivers to throw to in Godwin. But like Rachaad White's going to get his share. He should see between 12 and 16% of the target market share there in 5,500. Seems like he's the one pass catching running back who's too cheap, but I need to go even cheaper, which leaves me down in this range. One that I don't have enough intel yet on is Jamal Williams. Love Jamal Williams, protect him at all costs. Unfortunately, he said that beignets are like funnel cakes, and he may be marched out of New Orleans sooner rather than later, just on those comments alone. So we must protect this man. But if Kamara is suspended at the beginning of the season, then Jamal Williams steps into a much higher volume role. I am not expecting the 17 touchdowns from last year, but if he is the main guy in that offense in this game against Tennessee at 5,100, he becomes one of my favorite plays on the week, along with Rachaad White and these 2 other guys. Brian Robinson Jr. at 5,100. He struggled last season with efficiency, which is not his fault because he got shot. Give him a break. He came back from a gunshot wound and still played, looked rather snappy and spry when he did, had 100 yards against Atlanta in week 12. I expect a heavy dose going towards him against this Arizona defense that I do not expect to be good, and an offense is going to turn the ball over a ton. Brian Robinson Jr. Is being drafted below Antonio Gibson. I do not think that this Washington Commanders team is going to be playing Antonio Gibson more than they're going to be playing Brian Robinson. it is going to be a timeshare. But if it's 65% Brian Robinson and 35 to 40% Antonio Gibson, then there is more than enough meat on the bone at 5,100 in a tournament type lineup for me to go after Brian Robinson and attack all of the pass catching and shootout upside at wide receiver, quarterback, tight end, everywhere else. And the last one is going to be Samaje Perine. They went out to go get him this offseason. And yes, Javonte Williams is a much better talent than Samaje Perine is. But if Perine is the 40% guy in this offense at 5,100, now, yes, if I can find a way up to Rachaad White, or if Jamal Williams is the main guy in week 1 for New Orleans, I would much rather go that direction. Javonte Williams is on the field and practicing. We'll see how he goes for week 1. For right now, Samaje Perine looks like a very easy landing spot, even in a 40 to 45% roll. I do not think that the Broncos are going to run Javonte Williams, at least not early in the season, out there for 70, 75, 80% of the snaps. At best, you're looking at 50% of the snaps. And if he gets 50% and Samaje Perine gets the other 50%, as solid as he is in the passing game, and as much as this coaching staff in the past has utilized pass catching running backs, with a quarterback likes throwing the ball short at this point in his career. Give me Samaje Perine in this spot, a player that they went out and targeted. 5,100 is far too cheap, leaving us with 6,300 on the outside. I want to attack another high totaled game in this situation with one wide receiver who I think is too cheap, and he's somebody that I don't roster all that much. It's Amari Cooper. Average Amari is at home. Amari Cooper at home splits right again. 19.3 fantasy points at home last season, 11.9 on the road. He's at home in a game where they're going to have to score points. He's only 5,800 DraftKings dollars. I'm going to lock him in, meaning that I need a secondary stack for 6,800. Who could I possibly find at 6,800 who fits that bill? It's T. Higgins, number 5, 6,800. Yes, Jamar Chase is going to get all the attention. Yes, Jamar Chase is amazing. Joe Burrow just had a strained calf. I think that he's going to be just fine by the time the season gets here. He's got 6 weeks to recover and drink pina coladas on the sideline and not worry himself in this 120-degree heat that's everywhere across the country right now. So give me T. Higgins as part of that secondary stack. Herbert, Brian Robinson Jr., Samaje Perine, Tyreek Hill, Amari Cooper, T. Higgins, Everett, Williams, and whatever on defense. We're going for all the upside possible in this way too early first look. Thank you guys for watching. Drop a like on the video. Look out for another one right there.
He's a legend.